call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll, please.
Trustee Pacoli?
Here.
Trustee Meisen?
Here.
Trustee Mellinger? Here. Trustee Bukowski? Here. Trustee Primore? Here. Trustee Dashik? Treasurer Rossick?
Keep zooming. Somewhere out there.
Wait, yeah,
He is present.
I see. Attorney Davis?
Here.
President Silver?
Here. Approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. Mr. Crosby moved and supported.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
Item under new business B, approval to hire a part-time fire personnel chief. Is that just informational versus discussion/action?
I don't know.
I'm under the impression that we're not hiring him, we're just changing his payroll from quarterly to weekly or monthly. So I would say that
Well, we can address it when we get to it. That's really not a, we're not going to change the agenda.
Is there a swearing in ceremony or something today?
I'm sorry.
Is there a swearing in?
No, there's not. But Representative Yard is going to present a resolution.
Okay.
Any other questions on the agenda?
Is that for public to come up and talk?
Not yet.
No.
well, if all we're doing is, so we shouldn't take it off the agenda because we don't really have to make it.
We don't have to take it off the agenda because we don't know what the discussion or action is going to be.
But I was under the impression that they didn't submit it as an agenda item.
No, but it was brought to my attention, so I put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, who supported?
Meisen?
Okay.
Any other questions on the agenda? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment on agenda items.
Is that? Good evening, President Gilbert and Council. My name is Joe Evanchuk. I own the old funeral home down the road. I'm a hard-working man. I drive a semi-truck for a living, and I'm very rarely in town, and I know that the property has been neglected. I took off work, and I'm going to take off as much work as possible as I need to get it taken care of. Dan, the code enforcement officer, I believe he went by it this afternoon just before he got here, but I did some fair amount of extensive work in the back, and he could verify that. I've got pictures if you need them, but I just asked the gutter. I've got some roof. I've got a roof over another roof. And there's no leak in there, but the top roof, where they put an addition in at one time, the top roof is kind of a little bit caved in. I've got to do some work on that. But I was taken care of. I've got an old dead fallen tree that's been there. I haven't even been in town in several months, but I'm about halfway through that. I've got to do some more weeding. I've got some of the weed patches pulled on up. But I'm working as hard as I can. Today was a decent day. Yesterday was okay. I do have a heart condition. I had quadruple bypass 10 years ago, so the heat and the exertion has a little bit of an effect on me, so I got to limit myself to a point. But I am going to take as much time off as I can to get this place straightened up, do some painting, seal the back section in, paint it, make it look better. Anything that needs to be done, and I just ask for your consideration to allow me till the next board meeting next month to see the progress. I thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment on the agenda?
Code enforcement officer, Benny Burko. So yeah, Joseph Chuck just gave his story. I just want you guys to know that I've also spoken with the owner of the other property that's on the agenda. He said that he will probably be able to make it. Obviously, he missed the beginning of the meeting, but hopefully he'll be here in the room if you have any questions for him later when that agenda item comes.
Are there any other comments on the agenda? Approval of minutes, June 9th.
Make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from June 9th.
Support.
The properly moved and supported that we approve the meeting minutes of June 9th. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the public hearing meeting of June 9th. The public hearing minutes of June 9th.
Make a motion that we approve the public hearing meeting minutes from June 9th.
Support.
The moved and supported that we approve the public hearing minutes of June 9th. Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
The moved and supported that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Questions on the motion?
The tax benefits payroll, 10,000. That's just,
The tax benefit, oh,
$10,547. Sandy,
Sandy, what is that?
What's the question?
what is the tax benefits payroll for?
It's our employer portion of the taxes.
The what?
Employer portion of our taxes and the Blue Cross.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll, please.
Trustee Meissen?
Yes.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
Trustee Pymore?
Yes.
Trustee Burkoli?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger? Yes. President Gilbert?
Yes. Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. President, honorable council members. As Jeff Garrett, State Representative for the 33rd House District, which includes New Haven. Thank you for allowing this time on your agenda. I thought it was important that those in the legislature recognize the recent loss that the community had with fire paramedic Michael Major. If I could ask the widow and the representative from the fire department to join me up here, I'd appreciate it.
No.
Let me just brief. Michael Major is an outstanding example of the kind of person who is not content to sit idly while others take action. He has every quality of leadership possessed. He also had an incredible devotion for his family. When he wasn't working, Michael was spending time with his wife and kids. Michael was a great man, husband, father, son, friend, and hero to many. We all benefit from the honor of a man like Michael Major, and thank you for his unwavering service. And I will say that it's also the family that also, ends up taking on a lot of what the emergency responders deal with as they come home. I was a firefighter for 27 years. I will say that I actually knew Michael when I was at the Clinton Township Fire Department. And he was running with MedStar EMS. When you called, we took together, and both of us being kind of older guys in the profession, it's hard to say that, but one of the older guys, they kind of enjoy a little banter here and there between some of the older guys on the job, So I just want to recognize that, it's the loss to the service. So So we have a condolence tribute for the family signed by myself, Representative Hornberger, Senator Lucino, and Senator McDonald. And we also did a tribute for the New Haven Fire Department for their loss and the members of their members who also signed by those same members. Thank you for the service. Thank you.
Planning Commission appointments. We have two members whose terms are up. Genevieve Roddick and Robert Fennell. And I'd like to, I've spoken with both of them, and I'd like to reappoint them to the Planning Commission.
I make a motion that we reappoint Planning Commissioner Genevieve Roddick and Planning Commissioner Robert Canal back to the Planning Commission.
Support.
And probably moving and supported that we reappoint Genevieve Roddick and Robert Fennell back to the Planning Commission. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Meisner?
Yes.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger? Yes. Trustee McCoy?
Yes.
Trustee Pridemore?
Yeah.
President Hilbert?
Yes. Parks and Rec appointments. It's been a difficult journey trying to get volunteers to step up and serve on the Parks and Rec Committee. We finally received two names, Robert Woolman and Tracy Maddox. I would like to make these appointments to the Parks and Rec Committee.
I move that we appoint Robert Woolman and Tracy Maddox to the Parks and Rec Committee.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported that we appoint Robert Woolman and Tracy Maddox to the Parks and Rec Committee. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee McCoy?
Yes.
Trustee Meisner?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger? Yes. Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Pridemore?
Yes.
President Hilbert?
Yes. Item C, there's been some in-house discussions about possibly hosting a fireworks show the last Saturday in August. It's kind of a going back to school celebration for the kids if they go back to school. So my request tonight is going to be contingent upon Lennox Township going ahead that they have in the past, contingent upon the high school parking lot being completed, which I don't have a firm date from the high school yet. So it's contingent upon a few things. So I can either bring this back in August, first part of August, or we can get contingent approval tonight. And if all these things don't fall into place, then we won't host a fireworks show.
The governor just extended the state of emergency until the middle of August, so I think maybe we should bring it back to the table. For us to schedule fireworks right now may not be a good idea.
Well, the show itself would, I don't think it would violate the governor's state of emergency because of how we typically view it. This is not in conjunction with no festival or anything of that nature. It's strictly a fireworks show that you would view from your car. But if that's your wish, then that's how we'll proceed.
I guess I would ask that before we do make the motion to table it, you know, to some extent, even if we were to table it until the August meeting, I don't know if that's enough time for us to be able to lock in the vendor that does the fireworks. I mean, you probably need more than a 2-week notice.
Right now, that last Saturday in August is good with our vendor. And he fully understands that this is contingent upon all these things happening. The township buying in and the school parking lot being completed. Because the construction at the high school has taken on some additional work that was unforeseen. I had a conversation today with the school district, and it's going to be touch and go as to whether that parking lot is going to be completed.
Sorry.
So how do we control people staying in their cars? Who's gonna-
Well, we can only recommend, like we can only recommend that you wear this mask.
Right. So I'm just thinking, you know, right now we're in a very unique situation and none of us know if that's going to change or not. At what point does it become the village's responsibility or the school district's responsibility? Or
I don't know if we,
Dale, do you have any?
Yeah, but legally, probably at home. Governor's orders are the governor's orders. If you ask people to stay in their car, it's like asking people to wear a mask. If you don't wear a mask, and you tell me because of health reasons you can't, I can't even ask you what your health problems are.
Right.
We're all wearing masks because we care a little bit about each other and we want this thing to get better. But if you ask them to stay in your cars and post the signs and they don't, you guys aren't the enforcement agents. I mean, you're not the police. Police will be there. The sheriff will be there. Sheriff, last time I heard, he doesn't want to enforce it. But probably in that situation, I would hope he would, or have his people. The call is whether, in my opinion, legally, whether you can make an agreement with your vendor that allows everybody to walk away if it doesn't work out, and we don't own it. Okay? That way there's no harm to anybody. Now, my understanding is these vendors aren't exactly rolling in appointments. So I would think they would want to make as loosey-goosey as an agreement as everybody else does. But you guys have no duty as a township or whatever to enforce anything. The cops have a duty, the state has a duty, the state police may have a duty. But I just don't want you to think that if you have it, you have to run the car to car and every time somebody jumps out, you got to put it back in. You don't. Maybe others do.
But I asked that because he said from your car.
Yeah, I mean, going back when I was a kid, we used to do that, but I don't know if people do that anymore. It seems like, I can't give a legal opinion whether it's a good or bad idea. What I'm telling you is you have no liability to enforce people following the law if you set up things right. If you're going to view it, we want you to view it from the car. We want people to recognize social distancing. If you're out of your car, we'd love it if you wore a mask. Okay? If you want to do all that, you can do all that. And if you post it correctly, I think you'd be on safe grounds. Now, I don't know anything about whether they're going to get the parking lot done. I don't know anything about that. And that's not a legal decision, but if you want to do it, it's really a decision whether you want to try to do it. If you don't want to try to do it, fine. I don't want the misconception that somehow, if someone shows up there and 2 weeks later tests positive, that you're somehow responsible. You're not.
What would the cost be for the?
we've always established in the past a $10,000 budget. Last year it came in at $8,000, so it was 4 to the village, 4 to the township.
And if we did decide to table it until August, I mean, you're looking at 2 weeks to get it all together. Is that even enough time to get projects on board?
Well, Lennox is going to take it to their board, to the next board meeting, which is, should be, when is the next board meeting?
What's the date today?
There's the 14th.
There's no meeting in July, they meet in August.
Okay, they go first Monday in August.
First Monday, no, so it'll be prior to ours.
So they're bringing it to their board whether we table it till August or not?
Yes, yes, that's my understanding.
I still hesitate to throw any event that's going to draw a crowd. I don't think it's responsible. So many other events have been canceled, and I like seeing the fireworks from my backpack as much as anybody. But I'm not sure that planning a social event where things could go wrong, I don't know if that's a great idea or not, but, you know, if you want to table it,
What's your pleasure?
So I'll make a motion to set the fireworks or to everything Chris asked for, contingent on parking lot and all that kind of stuff.
Support.
The property moved and supported that we make plans for the fireworks contingent upon the township buy-in and the school parking lot being completed
For the last Saturday in August?
last Saturday in August.
Are we adding to that motion that the safety protocols that we're gonna ask to implement, or no?
We will always put in place those safety protocols, like we are hosting our first music in the park this Friday. And like we did with the slow roll and moving the park, there are circles in the park that are 6 feet apart, 6 feet circles, 6 feet apart. And we ask attendees to maintain their social distance. And with the music in the park, all flyers that have been put out are requesting that you wear a mask.
I would just request that any contract or anything, any discussion with the vendor be set up that, you know, we can pull out last minute if things do take a dive for the worse.
We will not send any money or do anything until we get a firm response from the township and a firm completion date on the high school parking lot. Any other questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Jankowski?
No.
So you made the motion, so you're gonna,
Yeah.
okay. Just
Thank
checking
you.
it. Trustee Meissen?
Yes.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Ballinger? Yes. Trustee Pridemore?
no,
President Silver?
Yes. Motion carried. Item E, OMID bond resolution. There's an $84 million project being undertaken by the Macomb County Drain Commission and the Oakland County Drain Commission. The Village of New Haven's portion is $455,000. And as they always do with their bond projects, they give communities an opportunity to pay in full up front. And so we have to adopt a resolution one way or the other to pay up front or to pay the bond, or make the bond payment when they do sell the bond. And this is like a 20-year payoff.
Yes.
And you can see, it would cost us approximately $111,000 in interest over 20 years. And this is the first of, we know of at least 2 projects that are coming down the pipe. I think there's another repair project that's going to come down with a value of approximately $12 million. Right now, it is our recommendation that we do not pay this in advance.
This will come out of the sewer fund, right?
Yeah, there's a number of funds that we could take it out of, the sewer fund and the highway improvement fund. Right now, we're on track to retire our sewer deficit plan. We're on track to retire it next year. And if we were to take this money out, then it would extend that sewer deficit elimination plan at least 3 years out.
And I'm sorry, did I hear you correct? Was it you are recommending that we do pay it up in full in advance or not?
No, that we don't pay.
So you want to do the monthly or the installments?
Say it again?
You want to do the installments?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I hate these masks.
I'm just, the reason why I was confused is because the way that item E reads is it says resolution to pay in full. So I was just kind of confused on.
Yeah.
And this is the project Candace Miller all sent us emails on saying it will not cause an increase in the sewer.
Very confusing emails.
Is that it?
Oh, we called the drain commissioner's office on their letter. Because when you read that letter, it says there's no increase, no this, no that, and we made a call. And you guys just told us that it's not going to cost us anything. Well, it is going to cost us.
So the options we're looking at now are save the 113,000 or extend our deficit elimination plan by 3 years.
At least 3 years.
A minimum of 3 years. What would the cost be to the village extending that plan? Would it exceed 113,000?
According to their schedule,
According to the schedule,
they want us to pay $455,000 now, and I think the total cost is about $597 on that schedule. That schedule,
Right, what I'm saying is if we
$574.
choose to pay it in full now and our elimination plan gets extended 3 years, what's the cost to the village for doing that?
Nothing, they already slapped our hands for the 5-year thing that we already missed, so. My concern is cash. The concern is cash. I mean, yes, it's only 10% of our cash flow, but if you look at the cash analysis thing that I put on your things right there, you can see where our cash sits. It sits in $1.5 million sits in major and local. And if we go and do this, we're going to be taking it away from the general fund and the highway fund because sewer does not have any money. Do we want to do that? So our recommendation is no, we don't want to do that because we'll deplete highway in general. As a whole, we have a lot of money, but not in where we want the buckets to be, is what I'm trying to say.
All right.
We're almost got ourselves out of the sewer. I would love to, but especially with the unknowns right now.
yeah. It's, if you read the Macomb Big article on Macomb Township, they decided to take the installments because similar to New Haven, or New Haven similar to them, there's a lot of projects coming down the pipe. And, you know, when you start doing a project, there are those unknowns that pop up and the unforeseen, and when you got to spend an extra 20 here, extra 50 there. And so we decided that, you know, because we got street projects, sidewalk projects, and all those things coming down the pipe, we don't want to put ourselves in a position where, oh crap, you know. We need to see that extra $100,000 here or there.
And another thing too, we got to remember, we have our August payment and our February payment coming up too on our sewer debt, so that's another $500,000 too on top of it. So that's $1 million going to Macomb County.
So that's our recommendation, that we accept the installment.
Excuse me.
Do we need a number for that, a resolution number?
The resolution, Trustee Prymer, the resolution is for us to say, yes, we want to pay it off.
Right, do we have a number?
No, I can put one to it though.
But we're not making the motion to pay it off. We're making the motion to do the installments.
Yes. Yes,
So we don't
make
need
a motion
a-
to accept the installment.
So we don't need a resolution for
No,
that?
no, we don't need a resolution for the installment part. This was just to bring you attention that they wanted us to pay it upfront, and we had to do a resolution for the upfront payment.
It's just gonna get filled. Do you need a motion for us to do the installments?
Yes.
I make a motion that we do the installments for the home ed bond. What was the 537, was it?
574.
574. 574,416.08.
We probably move and support it, that we accept the installment plan on the OMID bond project. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, foreclosed property. We have a short list of foreclosed properties that are not being protected by the program that we bought into last month about staying with home. These are unoccupied properties, most of they're vacant actually. And of course we get the right of first refusal. And it is my opinion that these properties have no value to the village. What it would in fact cause, because if we were to take ownership, we would be responsible for upkeep and maintenance. Two of the properties are in the floodplain on Chenault Street. They have no building, they can't be built on, so they have no value to the village. So I would ask that we not accept these properties from the county.
I make a motion that we refuse the foreclosed properties for the county.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported that we refuse the foreclosed properties from the county. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Item G, ordinance 374 to amend ordinance 338 of International Property Maintenance Code. This is a standard adoption of International Maintenance Property Code. This is kind of like the guide that our inspectors go by. And so we have to do this every couple of years to adopt the latest and greatest International Property Maintenance Code. So we need to amend the ordinance.
I move to adopt ordinance 374 to amend ordinance 338 for the International Property Maintenance Code.
Support.
And probably moved and supported that we adopt ordinance 374 to amend ordinance 338 International Property Maintenance Code. Any questions on the motion? Roll please.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Heisman,
Yes.
Trustee Dollinger. Yes. Trustee Pankowski.
Yes.
Trustee Frymore.
Yes.
President Gilbert.
Yes. Resolution 20-009. Great Lakes Water Authority, they have a program for pre-treating wastewater. And we have to adopt this resolution authorizing them to pre-treat where they see fit with being discharged into the wastewater system. I don't think we have any locations right now in the village that qualify. But it's something that all communities have to buy into this. If we do have those, there are manholes that are being tested in the village. Samantha, am I correct in saying that they do test certain manholes in front of, like, say, the factory up the street here, and there's a couple other locations where I think they test the manholes.
Yes.
to see what's coming from the facility. But this right here is just something that is, we had this agreement with the city of Detroit back when they were treating our waste, and now that the Great Lakes Water Authority is the authority, we need to have this agreement with them also.
I move that we adopt resolution 20-009 to concur in the rules and regulations concerning industrial pretreatment program that were adopted by the Great Lakes Water Authority.
Support.
Properly moved and supported that we adopt resolution 20-009 pertaining to the pretreatment of industrial waste. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Meister?
Yes.
Trustee Minkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Pridemore?
Yes.
President Silver?
Yes. Resolution 20-010. Mr. Fred, and Jeff, you're here. Come on up and hang out with us. This is our annual resolution where we give back to, where we allow the transfer of smart phones to the Richmond Minute EMS. And this year, the resolution calls for the transfer back of $4,560. I'm going to make a suggestion because of the shutdown, lockdown, the inactivity of what's going on in the world. The probability of the village using the remainder of $7,984 is very, very slim. Well, I would like to hold back a couple bucks because this is really goes to the end of June, and hoping next year in 2021, let's say the Tigers are back to normal and we want to schedule a couple ball games. I want to hold back enough money to do a couple bus trips. So, with that being said, in addition to the $4,560 that we would like to transfer over to Richmond Lennox, with Mr. Fred
Harbor.
Yeah, no. I would also like for council to consider giving the Richmond Lennox an additional $5,000 on top of that. And we will hold back $2,984, which should, because of how things are typically scheduled in the spring, which is not a spring activity with the exception of a couple of Tiger ball games, that was covering the bus trips that we put together early next year, if we're back to normal. And then on top of that, we would, after June 1st, we would be eligible for our normal allocation. And in talking to Mr. White today, if there are some trips that we come up with are on a smaller scale where we can use the smart buses, the smaller buses, if there's a group of 12 that wants to go somewhere, a group of 24, that they will accommodate us on those smaller trips.
So, President Dilbert, members of the board, it's good to see everyone tonight, at least most of us. You can see half of everybody. President Dilbert, it'd be unlike me to correct you in public, but let's just hope the Tigers are way better than normal next year when we can all get back to normal. Just a quick update on your service over the past year. In 2018, we had 2,318 people in the village of New Haven take advantage of the small bus service for the various services it provides: medical transportation, grocery trips, trips to the airport, and other needs they might have. In 2019, that number jumped by almost 500 rides to 2,863. Up until COVID-19, we were
on track to exceed those numbers again this year. This year we'll see a little bit of a drop because at the peak of the virus, we were only providing essential service, so we were giving people dialysis and oncology and medical care appointments, but we weren't, we weren't doing the grocery trips and the other trips that we might have normally done. As President Gilbert mentioned, we have had some other communities approach us about the idea of turning over some of the monies that they might have normally used for their charter trips to Richmond Lax this year for the exact reasons that he pointed out, which are just, we don't think there'll be a lot of charter buses used possibly over the next few months. But certainly we have worked with some of our neighboring communities. I think it's next week. We're working with Chesterfield Township, where we're providing 3 buses. We put about half the normal riders on those buses, so we put about 6 on them as opposed to 12, so we can maintain some social distancing, require masks being worn, but still are able to move, not as many as you put on a charter bus, but certainly a nice sized group to an event. And so that's where your funds would be used if you choose to allocate the additional $5,000 to Richmond Lennox for that service. With that, I won't take up any more of your meetings unless anyone has any questions, and I'll defer quickly to Fred if he has any questions.
Thank you, President Gilbert, Council. A couple of things. One is, as Jeff mentioned, even though we've all cut back on services, as we're going back into making some of those older types of trips, because we're limiting the number of people on buses, there's going to be more cost involved in providing that service. So instead of 1 bus, you might have 2 buses out there taking the same number of people. So the additional dollars certainly will be well utilized. And Jeff's program was actually audited by Smart's auditors this past year and came out with, I forget what the rating was, but it was, I'm not an accountant, so forgive me on the language, but I know that it was a thumbs up kind of rating. So, and the last thing I'd like to say is that there actually are dollars still available from FY19 and FY20 for those additional recreational trips. So if you wanted to, there's about $8,700 still available from past years. So if you wanted to make one motion to just do all of those dollars this year, you still have dollars available that would be available to Springfield's Tiger Greens.
That's good to know.
So that's all I have. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So if council has no objection to what Fred just said,
Was it the 9,560 plus the additional?
Well, I think that the total contract amount this year, I think with both municipal and community credits is $12,544, if I've got my numbers correct.
yes.
And so there still are those $8,700 available from prior years that would still be available for those
So we
recreational
should have.
trips.
Oh, so we can just do the full
So you
contract
could use,
amount?
you could use the old money for those.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that?
So the contract amount was, sorry?
It's there's actually 2 pieces, municipal credits 4560, correct me Sandy if I'm wrong, 4560, and 7984 for the community credits for a total of 12,544.
I make a motion that we transfer the full contract amount of $12,544 to Richmond Lennox EMS. Smart.
And probably moved and supported that we transfer to Richmond EMS the total amount of $12,544. We will have to update the numbers on this resolution.
That's what I was going to ask, if the resolution has the fourth, yeah.
I'll update the numbers and then we'll sign it and get it over to you.
So it's amended.
Any other questions on the motion?
So this will be resolution 20-010 with the 12,544 credit amendment?
Yes. Yes, we will correct the numbers. Questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Meisman?
Yes.
Trustee Prydmore?
Yes.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger? Yes. Trustee Pacoli?
Yes.
President Gilbert?
Yes. I hope at some point we could use that leftover money, that $8,700, and actually run out of money. So
We all hope so.
Get back to some sort of normal.
That's a lot of bus trips.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Stay healthy.
Resolution.
You're on.
20-011, our hazard mitigation plan. And this is with Macomb County Chief?
Yes.
Oh, there you are, over there. Is this
Yes,
first time?
it's with Macomb County Emergency Management. It's something we have to, about every 5 years, you guys have to adopt a resolution accepting that. They updated the plan and made a few changes, but I can show you the plan. It's about 85 pages long. And there's very few changes, and there's no changes actually that actually affect us. It's just update every 5 years. Every municipality, jurisdiction has to adopt some kind of resolution saying, yes, we'll play nice with you. And that's what, if you need a lot of information, I will be glad to email it to you.
Okay. I thought it was pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
I move to adopt resolution 20-011 hazard mitigation plan.
Support.
Properly moved and supported that we adopt resolution 20-001, the hazard mitigation plan with Macomb County. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Pankowski,
Yes.
Trustee Meisen,
Yes.
Trustee Malinger,
Yes.
Trustee Prymore,
Yes.
President Silver.
Yes. Item K, resolution 20-012, designation of a street administrator. We have to do this for our Act 51 funding. And I'm recommending that we designate the DPW superintendent, Marcus Gilbert, as our street administrator.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 20-012 for designation of street administrator, and that would be Marcus Gilbert, DPW superintendent.
Support.
It's probably moved and supported that we adopt resolution 012, and naming Marcus Gilbert as the Village of New Haven street administrator. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Pankowski,
Yes.
Trustee Meisen,
Yes.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Malinger. Yes. Trustee Prymore,
Yes.
President Silver.
Yes. Item L. Oh, I'm sorry. L. I asked us to put on the agenda, we have two properties on Main Street that have been sitting eyesores for a long time. 58611 Main and 58855 Main. And I asked it to be put on the agenda because I wanted the council to make a motion, to adopt a motion designating these two properties as public nuisance and directing the attorneys to go into circuit court to force some action on these properties. It is not my intention, and I hope we never get to that point, that these properties have to be demolished. I think there are two potential gems on Main Street that we need to force some action on these properties. And thank you, Hank, for showing up. So what's your intent with your property?
My intent is beginning of August is to have a contractor in there on 58855 Main.
Because right now you have an open basement and...
I understand it was plywooded and boarded up, but neighborhood kids keep breaking into it through there.
Okay. And
Several of the, or even 3 arrests from people I've caught in there.
so your overall, what's your intent with the property?
Total renovation, top to bottom. You guys give me a date of what you want to see done by when, and it'll be done.
No, you tell us what your time frame is.
How about end of September, you see major changes? That deal?
It's up to council to accept that deal. Mr. Joe, you know, we've had this discussion with you. We took down part of your garage, and I've seen no improvement since we've taken down that part of the garage. The front of the building looks like it's abandoned.
Miss America, beautiful daughter, call.
Well, council needs to understand too, if they shut down, getting people to do anything it's been kind of difficult too, to get anybody on site.
Yeah, I understand that, but the fact of the matter is you've owned that property for how long now?
Right, and I was also down for 2 years due to medical.
Okay.
So we're getting back to normal here.
Okay.
You know, I understand there's things that gotta be done to it, I have no arguments against it.
Because I mean, this is Main Street, you know, and you take those two properties off of Main Street, in addition to the work, the one being at the corner of Main and Elk, and Main Street doesn't look bad. But when you add these two properties, it makes Main Street look bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but
It could be better, I mean.
It could be better, yes.
You know, with these two properties, the old funeral home could be a shining star, and of course, you know the history of the Seaford House as much as I do. You know, that could
Now,
be.
this whole town, been here my whole life.
Yeah, so that house right there could really be a bright star on Main Street. So what's the pleasure of council?
I'd like to at least have some sort of improvement that we can see over the course of the next month, if possible. I mean, I know that there are some difficulties with lining up contractors, with everything going on.
I can oblige.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to wait till September to see.
Not the end of September.
Yeah, certainly not.
Now we're getting the snow.
Right, exactly. And I know it's difficult to line things up, but we've been having work done at our house and it's possible, it's just difficult.
Can I recommend that within the next month, permits are filed, contractors' names are supplied to the village, and a timeline of what's going to be done. We have a history of not pulling permits. We've been shut down before. So I think in the next month, we need to see substantial direction from you with permits, with the name of the contract, with contractor with contact information, and a timeline of what's going to be done and how long you think it's going to take. Do you agree to that?
I'll agree to that.
Okay.
Joe, how about you?
I'm planning on
I'll come up to the building.
conforming to what was
This
asked
week.
on the,
Talk to our building guy, Dave Collins.
What's that?
on the infraction report. This is the first one I got. I didn't get any of the other ones, and as soon as Dan
So come up to the podium, please.
Dave Collins.
Okay.
Contacted him, but we want to see some people.
I plan on conforming to all the requirements on this civil infraction. I'll be working at it next month. Like I said, I've taken off work, actually jeopardizing my job. I might not even have a job when I go back, but I'll stay off as long as I need to get that done. And I'll do some painting, scraping. I'll trim the hedges in the front, keep the grass down, the weeds. Dan drove by just prior to coming out here, and I've just been able to just start on it now, but he's noticed some improvement just in the backyard. That's what I'm going to do first, is all the yard stuff, and then I'll tackle the house situation. But
Here's part of my problem. We spent a lot of money taking down your garage, okay? We spent a lot of legal fees, and if we're going to continue spending legal fees, I'd rather take it in the circuit court and get a judge to force the issue.
Well, just give me till when you meet next council meeting,
Okay.
and see how we're looking.
Okay.
Are there structural problems to the building?
No.
What did
No, just I've got to do a couple patches on the roof, but like I said, there was an addition put on, there's one roof, and then there's another roof on top of it, and there's a little bit of a sagging in that, but if it leaks onto a secondary roof, but not into the home.
But you got a gutter that's down.
Yeah, I got to put the gutter.
The overall appearance of the property does not look good.
Yeah, well, you'll see a big change in the next month.
Dan? What say you?
I would like that, if we get something in writing, like Trustee Primar said, I think that's a good idea. Get something in writing, signed by them, each of them, by next council meeting, and then also hopefully have some visual improvement, noticeable improvement on both lots with written stuff, like she said, with permits pulled, with timelines offered moving forward.
Okay.
If not, then yes, I say we go toward next month again.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it's probably just implied in your request, but like a full, like detailed, what is intended to be done, so that we have not just timelines, but benchmarks to say like, hey, you said this is something that was going to be started, why is it either not started, or when is it going to be started, or when the completion happens and everything's done, if it's still not done, something to call back and question and say, well, we were told that this was going to be.
Each of them have been written violations. Mr. Evanchuk, the one that he's holding right there, Mr. Shoddy? A little more at length because it's got some history behind it, whatnot with that property. But they have in great detail what needs to be done. So I would hope that they could address that. On that by me, I'll give you the green light if it seems like they address all the things that need to be.
Council, are you satisfied with what they're saying? Okay.
As long as you get a commitment in writing, which can be used in court should they fail to meet.
Sure.
Provided by that, or do we want, is there like a affidavit or something, that general formality?
There's no, we have a problem with contracts because there's a lack of consideration and unconsidered force. What my suggestion would be, which is basically even better, you've been issued citations, you know what the problems are. It seems that council is willing to give you some time to get it done. The point of the matter is that the law firm is ready, willing, and able to walk into circuit court, and if you don't get it done, enforce it and take it down if that's what we have to do. Now, I know that this council doesn't want to do that, but if they have to, they will. We have to rely on the enforcement officer, Dan, to tell us whether you guys are living up to your word or not. So it's probably a good idea if they want to enter into a memo or written agreement with Dan, Mr. Vanderkokovi, to get it done right, that's very acceptable. But understand that, if you don't, there's consequences. And I don't want to be here like a hard guy because they're trying to make this work. But if you don't do it by the next meeting, when they vote to send us to court, we go. And then your chances are over. Because they will bring it.
Okay. We're good? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. On that same note, we just got approval by the court to demolish with a 7-day period that we have to wait. The house at 30701 South Street. It's been abandoned for about 20 years, and we just got approval from the court to demolish that house. So the courts are listening to it.
Is that Mr. Ross? Is that Mr. Ross' property interest?
The guy that we can never get served.
Yes.
Yeah. So he has 7 days now. There will be another attempt. So he has 7 days to answer. Hazard pay. There's been a lot of discussion with other communities and how they're approaching. I know that here within Macomb County, hazard pay was given to a few organizations. I think some of the supermarkets were paying their employees an additional $2 an hour during the height. my grandson's employer is quite generous, and I won't tell you what his hazard rate is. But it's in talking it out with Sandy and with the $10 million that Macomb County received to be dispersed through local communities, and I think recently the governor or the state has set aside $200 million to be distributed. Of course, you got to apply and do all the paperwork. But even that set aside, I am bringing to you a proposal that we pay hazard pay to our DPW and to our fire department for the months of April, May, June. The reimbursement from the state is capped at $1,000 per employee. And if we don't get reimbursed, it's something I think we should do, especially knowing that during this time, particularly our full-time employees could have literally said, I'm afraid to go to work, and they could have sat home and got that, could have made more money than what they make. And they chose not to. They chose to come to work, keep the grass cut, continue to dig graves and bury people, which our death rate was high during this period. So they continued to work. Our fire department continued making calls, 911 runs and whatnot. So we put together a package for hazard pay for our DPW and our fire department. And what I am proposing is a $1,000 stipend for each DPW employee, and for the fire department, it will be $2 additional for every hour worked during the month of April, May, June.
And that's based if we get the care dollars?
No, we can afford this and we should pay it, but we're hopeful that we will get reimbursed for it.
Is there a reason why DPW is making the $2 per hour that they work, like the fire department?
I'm sorry?
DPW is getting 1,000.
Flat, it's capped at 1,000.
Okay. The fire department is getting paid hourly, the $2 per every hour that they work?
Because they're on call.
Okay. So what's the average? Was it 150 to 175 extra?
It ranged, some
Is that
firemen
what
will
the
get
report? Yes.
much more than others.
Yeah, it looks like it ranges $2 to $284.
The DPW based, and they're being based on just 40 hours, not including overtime, and theirs actually come out to $1.97. So they're actually getting paid slightly less than the fire department.
I just have reservations, if it's not able to come out of the care money. We just have a lot of people in our community that work through, taxpayers that work through it and didn't or will not get hazard pay. So those are my reservations about it.
And there are probably some that did get hazard pay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. There are some that did.
But the fact of the matter is that they chose to work, and DPW chose to work, our fire department chose to work, and no one shied away from their responsibilities during the height of the pandemic.
I guess I like the idea of the hazard pay. I guess my hesitation with the fire department and $2 an hour. I mean, in a lot of these cases, it's just. I mean, the grand amount to the fire department, $1,800 is 2 of what we're paying to the DPW. Not to try to put emphasis on one job over the other, but I mean, fire department responding to calls and being in immediate contact with COVID patients, but yet only getting, in a lot of cases, less than $100 in hazard pay. Granted, I know it's an hourly rate, but I just...
Well, we were just trying to make it fair so that it would be close to $2 an hour across the board for everybody.
Yeah. I understand, I just wish it was more, I guess.
Have we done any research on hazard pay in other communities with their first responders?
Good question.
Yeah. Because like you said, these numbers for somebody that's walking in a house and they don't know if they're going to be exposed to the virus or not, as opposed to DPW work, which still they came to work a different job. Yeah, I think that it's maybe not quite balanced. But it's, again, what we can afford. So I'm all in favor of appropriate recompense and hazard pay we can afford it.
But, I mean, I'm sitting here waiting for somebody to present an alternative.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to DPW, the amount to the DPW, but I would like to see a little more to the fire department being first responders and the environment that they work in being a little more hazardous. And I mean, $30, $60, I mean, I kind of like to see that all.
Well, are you talking about the per hour or the individuals that are on the road here?
Can we maybe even do like a set amount that we average across all of them? I mean, I know then you're not doing the hourly rate per se, but...
Like match them from the 4,000 that the DPW is getting divided by
something.
Flat rate, you know.
What's the same?
Sandy?
We have breaking news. Can Jeff White address you about this issue?
I'm sorry.
Can Jeff White address this issue?
So, what I can tell you is the state of Michigan passed legislation that provided, I think it was $200 or $300 million for the purpose of providing hazard pay direct to first responders due to the CARES, due to COVID-19. They call it CARES Act funding. I've heard that term kicked around by the federal government, but there's an application that has to be turned in before this Friday the 17th. And basically the application takes maybe 15 or 20 minutes to complete. And by placing each of your firefighters' names on it and the other information that is there, the firefighters can be eligible if you receive those funds for up to $1,000 each in hazard pay due to their response during COVID-19. I share this simply because I walked over and talked to Senator for a moment. Just say I completed ours for the EMS today. I'll be finishing the one for the Lennox Fire Department tomorrow. And there is no guarantee for this funding. In fact, the legislation, the way it was written, it's kind of some of the more interesting legislation I think I've ever seen. It's on a first come, first served basis.
Yes.
So if you apply and you're early enough in the application process, you will receive the funding. And if you are not early enough in the process, you may not. But having said that, while I think your firefighters are well worth any hazard pay that the board can afford to give them, if you held off your decision tonight to make this application, it doesn't preclude you from providing them the funding later, which was kind of the advice I gave to my board. In fact, was not that we're not going to see that they are well compensated for, running at a threat that I described it recently as it's like a firefighter running at a fire without turnout gear, or a police officer running at a threat without a bulletproof vest. These guys really were heroes throughout this event, running into the unknown, jeopardizing in some cases their own health and that of their families. They are certainly deserving of your consideration. I just wanted to make you aware of this other pot of money that might allow you to, we are aware of it, provide that. So, all right, thank you.
When did we fill out the application?
When
did we fill out the application?
We haven't filled out the application because this right here was first brought up prior to the executive order, prior to the 200 million, which was just released.
Yeah, the applications came out like last Friday.
Yeah.
This is Wednesday, and they have to be done by this Friday coming up. But like I say, the application, for once, the application, I can tell you, is not voluminous. Like I say, it's probably a 20-minute project for somebody that's decent on a word processor. It took me 30 because I'm not. But, you know, for somebody who's good at it, it's probably 20 minutes.
Yes.
Just want to make sure the board is aware.
Yes, I'm aware. Like the application just came out, you know, just, I think after the council packet even went out.
Can we make sure that the application for the CARES Act, or for the CARES funding gets put in, and then maybe, as Jeff said, that we could, you know, wait until next month to see what the result is of that, and then
Someone has to fill out those applications, so I would hope that you would designate somebody to fill out those applications.
I'll do it. Can I contact you and give you information?
Yeah, I can send it to any, I think I've got all your emails, so yeah, I'll send it over to you. I've got it on my computer.
thank you, Trustee Brewer.
So are we gonna make a motion to table it until September or August? Give them a month of that.
Are you making that motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we table the hazard pay discussion until the August council meeting. Support.
Probably moved and supported that we table the hazard pay until August. Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adam, we're giving town center update.
What's the answer?
Yes.
All right. All the board members, I believe, received an email explaining the protocol of where we're at in the situation. All of that's public record, so it's not a matter of a closed session. Suit was filed, we achieved service on the defendants. A number of governmental orders have delayed legal process to the point that we keep getting put back. And then as the email explains, there's probably 8 or 9 days, depending where we come from, in which they still have time to answer the complaint. And we can't do anything until they answer the complaint. There's an argument out there, I just want everybody to understand real quickly, that it can't move forward even if they don't answer the complaint until the governor opens up the courthouses, because part of your answer to a complaint can be just a flat-out motion to dismiss, and they're not booking those motions. So if they don't answer within the time, we're going to file a motion for default, which means you didn't answer, we win. Those can be set aside too. So it's a matter of limbo, but we're in the driver's seat. We've done what we can do as a township and as a plaintiff. The suit's filed, they're served. We've heard from no one. Not a phone call, not a letter, not an email, nothing. So we'll see where they want to go in 7, 8, or 9 days.
My question just was, with the courts being shut down and everything, where is that process just for anybody to go to court? Are they scheduling cases? Are they?
Well, here, are they scheduling them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is
Are they
everything shut
following
down?
the schedule? Absolutely not. Okay, they schedule cases because they have to answer to the Supreme Court that we schedule cases. As the date comes up, you normally get a call from the court that we're not going to do it. Okay, we're going to move it another month or another 2 months. They're waiting like everybody else for it to open. Every now and then, they'll allow us to have a Zoom conference with the court. And we've had a lot of them. They normally, as a matter of course, don't allow the clients in on those because of the communication problems. Do the clients know how to get on Zoom? Do the clients know how to do this? So that court is way behind. The governor's orders are written rapidly. So don't take this as a criticism. But when you write them rapidly, you because this is a rapid situation, you can't get every contingency in them. So the judges are going like this. We don't know what to do either. We schedule it, we hope by the time your date comes up, the doors are open and you can come in, but if they're not, we either make some sort of Zoom, quote, settlement conference, or we're gonna put you off another month or two. So it's a mess, but I gotta give everybody credit. They're trying, a lot of Zoom conferences, people are at work there. It's just hard, you can't get people in the courtroom, you can't get people in a settlement conference face to face. It's very hard to do a Zoom settlement conference. President Dilbert's been with me at settlement conferences. Somebody's in one room, somebody's in another, the judge goes here, the judge goes there. It's very hard to do on Zoom because everybody's listening at once. So our situation is simple. If they don't answer, by the time the deadline comes, we're going to file a motion for default, and then we'll see what happens.
Question?
And you don't know that date yet, correct?
It's 8 or 9 days. I have to do the math, and it's hard to read. She has an order that goes backwards. I have this order, and we'll count from this date backwards. And it's either 8 or 9 days from now.
Well, while you have the floor, I have posed a question to Mr. Kelly pertaining to in-person meetings. Some participants choose or can participate via Zoom. What is your, and I don't know if Mr. Kelly shared.
Oh, we did. We talked about it. We're in a new area of law. It's an area of what they would say in the old days, this is a decision based on law of first impression. Let's assume we have a council member or one of your other, building commission, planning commission, whatever, and someone doesn't feel comfortable in attending because of medical problems that they either perceive they have or a legitimate fear that that virus is out there looking for them. I think reading all the governor's orders together, that you can mix the meetings. You can do live here and follow the rules, but allow those elected officials who feel that they can't be here in their own safety to appear by Zoom. I think, and will that be attackable one day? Maybe someone could attack, saying I don't think it was right. I don't see how we can prevent an elected official from appearing by Zoom in the current state of the governor's orders. The whole thing here is public safety. And I'm an elected official and I have emphysema, or I have a heart problem, or I have whatever. You call the public meeting and say we're all going to have 6 feet and masks, and that's nice, and we're all doing that. I don't think you can declare that elected official ineligible because they choose not to show. So I think not only is it, whether it's a good idea or not isn't our choice, I don't think you can deprive that elected official of their position and their presence by Zoom or whatever other one we use.
So, can I ask some questions?
Sure.
Okay. So what if it is not an elected official, and what if it is either someone that we contract to work with, and they have a presentation that they have to give? Would that same rule apply?
Well, I think it would be reasonable. However, they don't have an absolute right to dictate how they appear. See, an elected official has a status that has to be respected. Now, my personal opinion, I'm not supposed to give it. Okay? If you want to have an open meeting and you want to give these people these opportunities, you can either vote to give them or not to give them. Okay? But you guys control your meetings. You guys control who gets to appear and how within constitutional mandates. The governor's orders themselves have not been declared constitutional. So there's a whole bag of worms out there. I guess my best advice would be in times of emergency, in times of problems, you have to use your best reasoning. But it's your call how you run, how you run your meetings. Can you let people attend and make presentations by Zoom? In your discretion, you certainly can. If there's a reason you don't want to, and you express that reason on the record and it's rational and it makes sense, you can do that too. I know you think I'm punny, but this is the truth of the matter. You have to act rationally and protect everybody's constitutional rights. Very difficult in these times. Not an easy thing to do. You know, we have a representative over here, and I know they struggle with this in Lansing right now.
Right.
Who do you let come, just call up on the phone and talk? And who do you want in front of you so you can have the face-to-face that democracy demands? And I know people who love computers and love Zoom think that takes place, but you know, I've had depositions over Zoom, I've had arguments with judges over Zoom. It's not the same. Not the same. But it's your call.
Does it apply to appointed positions? Meaning, like a planning meeting. We had a planning meeting and we had, the commissioners were all here. We had someone on the telephone and we had 2 people on Zoom. And the people on the phone were our contractor and the petitioners.
Okay. Well, I'm going to exercise in the rule that I've learned over the years. There is absolutely no written law or decision that discusses that. So you have to take what we have to work with and work with it. If the board votes or the commission votes to allow that to occur, I think it's going to be very hard after the fact to attack it. Okay? You know, you set your rules as you go. We have this meeting here. Let's look around the room. I'm going to try to give you an example. We're trying to get 6 feet or at least 4 and backing off and wearing masks. We're doing the best we can with the governor's orders. Are we doing it right? I saw a lot of people sitting next to each other over there. We presumed early on they were family, but we really don't know that. Okay? You're all flying by some vague outlines of what we're trying to do to prevent further infection. So it's a simple rule. What the majority decides to do, as long as it's rational and not aimed purposely at depriving someone of their rights, you can do. And I know that's difficult to understand, but that's what we're left with at every place we represent. They all have the same question, and we all have the same answer. We read the governor's made over 20 orders. And because they change with the changing of the environment. So some of them contradict each other. That's not because they don't know what they're doing, it's because they're responding one time after another. So here's your rule. You guys are in charge of this meeting. Okay, the rule's clear. The president's in charge of this meeting. Okay, a supervisor of the township's in charge of that meeting. And whatever they do, that's their meeting, as long as they don't violate a basic civil right. Now, there's no basic civil right that you get to call in by phone, normally. But under these circumstances, somebody could say, hey, I was worried about my health. I didn't want to infect anybody else, but I needed to make my presentation. I think a reasonable board would say, go ahead. But there's no rules, guys. I wish there were.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Ms. Dennis?
So it's up to President Gilbert, for example, this evening, if he allows people to participate in Zoom or not, and et cetera. Is that how we're going to go? I want to understand what we're going to do.
Well, actually, the law is clear that either a village president, a township supervisor, okay, in many cities, municipalities, mayor, they run the meeting, okay, and they have great authority to run that meeting, and they have great discretion to run that meeting. Now, that doesn't mean he can say, I don't like your shirt, you can't talk to me. Well, he can, but he's going to lose that later on down the road. We take that into consideration of the fact that when you have a commission meeting or a committee meeting, the same basic rules apply. That committee makes their rules as long as it complies with the Constitution. Well, here's our problem. The Constitution never heard of this virus. So now we're working under orders from the governor, okay, who we have to assume is doing the best they can do, and you have to try to apply it to each situation. So if I'm running the planning commission, God forbid, I don't know anything about that, and I say, look, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with people making presentations to this board without coming here and facing face-to-face questions, you could deny it. Is that reasonable? A judge will decide that one day. If you ask me, you try to accommodate everybody the best you can, whether by Zoom, whether by TV, whether by phone call, you know, put the conference call on. Legally, you've got a lot of leeway. You've got to show a good faith effort to follow the orders that are there. I don't know if that answers your question, but here it's simple. We're going to do the best we can to accommodate everybody and not violate anybody's civil rights until this thing passes, hopefully soon.
I had a request tonight to participate by Zoom, and I granted it because our treasurer sits here for 59 minutes and gives a 5-second presentation.
It's well within your authority to grant it or reject it.
Okay, let's move on. Payment of bills.
I make a motion that we approve the payment of bills for July 2020 in the amount of $182,292.86. Support.
It's properly moved and supported that we approve payment of bills in the amount of $182,292.86. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Pridmore?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
Trustee Burkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Nyson?
Yes.
Trustee Burkholz?
Yes.
President Hilbert?
Yes. Treasury report. Hey, Mr. Rossi.
Total bill
Yes.
in essence of $524,310.97.
I move that we receive and file the treasurer's report as presented.
Support.
Properly moved and supported. It's properly moved and supported that we receive and file the treasury report as presented. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The clerk is requesting items for our August meeting to be turned in by August 1. No unfinished business. New business, a resolution to extend period for political signs. Mrs. Pridmore.
Okay, under our zoning ordinance 260, we have political signs. It states that political signs related to a special, primary, or general election shall be erected no more than 30 days prior to the election. It shall be removed no later than 5 days after the election. Now, we all know this is an unusual year, election year, and so far the Secretary of State has already received over 1 million requests for absentee ballots. So it does shift the time frame somewhat for not only the knowledge of the voters who would vote for, but when they're going to vote. It's not necessarily going to be on November 7th or whenever the election is this year. So my first question to Mr. Addis is, should the council so desire to increase the time frame maybe an additional 30 days? Are we allowed to do that?
Are you allowed to say by resolution we want to extend it 30 days?
Right.
Sure, you're allowed to do that. If some upset candidate sues you afterwards, that's a toss-up. Okay?
Wouldn't be our first rodeo, would it?
Well, right, no, it wouldn't be. You know, we're riding this wave of new stuff every day. Can people do that if they wish? Can a board try to do that? There's special circumstances, there's state of emergency now into August, and we think it's wise. Now, the legal question that will have to be decided later is, can you by resolution change the rules? that have been in effect and that every candidate planned for. Okay, I bought this many signs, I got this many people to put them in, I got this many people to take them out, and now in the middle of the stream, we changed the rule. Okay? I can see an upset candidate, probably one who loses, saying, I'm going to attack that rule. Can I tell you how that will turn out? Absolutely not. And no one here can.
So 30 days before the election would be prior to 30 days before that would be September, which is 2 months away. So I think that disenfranchised candidate, might be aware of the situation with the 2-month window to be,
I'm not saying it's unreasonable to do it, don't get me wrong. I am saying this, I know that Home Township has addressed this question. I don't know how they voted on it. Because they wanted to extend some deadlines for signs and other things. Here's my answer. People can resolve to do anything, but the ordinance is still in effect.
Now, is it though, because I thought our new sign ordinance, we can't regulate content on the signs.
You cannot regulate content on that.
So political signs you can have up whenever you want, right?
The content is one thing. When you can put them up and when you can take them down is another.
But that's based off of type of sign, right? Not necessarily the content.
Right.
Correct.
So, and I believe the new sign ordinance, wasn't our limitations only based off of temporary signage?
Which normally political signs are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they
You got a great point, and you got a great point. Okay. And the guy who says I plan my campaign around the ordinance that it existed and it cost me when you change the rules will have a great point. So you're all right. These things won't be decided until later. Question is, if you guys want to resolve and say, we're going to leave the signs up for an extra week, 10 days, 20 days, well, whoever your enforcement guy is should probably take heed of that and not get angry, okay? He knows what I'm talking about. On the other hand, if down the road there's a legal attack on that, this is new areas. Good luck. Is it reasonable? There are a lot of people tell you it's reasonable.
so if the political signs are covered under the new,
I was going to ask if that, the ordinance that you read, if it didn't get invalidated by the new sign ordinance.
it's not marked invalidated, it has been stricken, so it hasn't been amended. So,
Well, the new sign ordinance, just so everybody understands, is in accord with very recent, in legal terms, constitutional decisions. And so when a judge looks at a particular case, he may say that ordinance, that new ordinance overrides the old one.
Right.
Even though we didn't put that in there, okay, or nobody wanted it in there. Because you want it, most municipalities, townships, and villages want signs in a confined time. It's a matter of almost blood. After a while, people get tired, no matter how popular you are, of reading your name.
Yeah, I think that the 30 days that our current ordinance allows is more than enough.
well, considering absentee ballots might be filled out and returned before then.
I'm not so sure what
Oh,
the,
they're not going to be returning absentee ballots before then? Is there a time frame?
I returned mine already.
Don't you return the application for one?
Well, I returned mine for the primary.
Right, that's in August.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the one for the application that you're getting for the November general election, are they going to be only permitted to return those within 30 days of the election?
Well, I'm sure that the application and the ballot will be out in plenty of time. I mean, this is my first time ever doing absentee, and I'm only doing it for the primary. But, I've never heard any real short window.
There may be a practical answer. Unless the governor or the federal government extends your ability to send the absentee ballot past the date of the election, then really there's no substantive change. Now, will that happen? It could, because you're right, the numbers are overwhelming clerks everywhere. This is just a suggestion on the report. maybe you should wait and see how those reports come in.
It's something that I'd like all of council to think about if you want to extend the amount of time, because again, absentee ballots will be mailed in before the 30-day window. Ballots themselves to vote. Once the candidacy is announced, they can turn them in at any time, so for anybody running for office, you know. But again, like Attorney Addis said, we've all seen 23 Mile and Gratiot with the signs, and it looks like it's clustered, so. But if you would all like to think about it, maybe come back next council meeting, which is plenty of time still, and think about maybe extending it or not. Okay?
Item B. Chief, you want to come up?
When I read this, I was confused, but it says hiring of a new part-time fire personnel. I'm not hiring anybody. All I did was put in a request that Sergeant Wagner be paid weekly instead of every 3 months. I already paid him for doing random maintenance and stuff like that, but he doesn't get it till the end of the 3 months. He'd like to have it every week.
Okay.
So I'm not hiring anybody. His pay rate isn't changing. He's going to get no more than 29 hours a week, but then he won't even be getting that much usually. But there's a lot of things that have to be done on a weekly basis, and there's things that have to be done on a monthly basis to keep us in compliance with the state for our license, our medical license, and for OSHA and so on and so on. So he's been doing these things all along.
Okay.
The difference is he doesn't get it for 3 months. So I talked to Lori, and she said, give me a paper that says, so I put in there that, and somehow it ended up on here as a part-time personnel hiring, and I'm not hiring anybody.
Okay, because this was thrown at me, which it should have been bounced off me, because Lori didn't know how to respond to this, and she should have said that to you.
Yeah, all she said is she wanted something for her file, so I gave her something for her file. Thought that was the end of it. If I had known, I would have more than gladly discussed it with her or you.
Yeah, because, I mean, these are changes that Lori doesn't have the authority to make.
Okay. Well, we had talked about, the fire committee had talked about before paying them every month like the council gets paid. Most of my guys are very happy with the 3-month thing because it gives them 3 months to build up a little cash and then use it. In his case, now that he's retired from the county, I'm going to be using him a little bit more. He covers shifts when I'm not here. He covers other things. And he does all that. Like I said, he's been here for almost 30 years, and he's not a new hire. So it's just a change of his payroll to weekly instead of every 3 months. So I'm not sure what. I guess that was my mistake. I had talked to her and she said, just give me something, a memo saying so I can have it in the file. I never heard anything about it until I read that we're on the agenda for part-time fire personnel, so.
Okay, and this side has, can I assume that this side had already been approved?
Yes, we went over this, I think you were in the one meeting with the committee when we talked about this. And even the Ways and Means Committee, when we were addressing it to them before we had the fire committee, we had.
Yeah, we did it at council.
Okay, that's where it has to take place.
Yeah, it absolutely happened here.
That's why I'm sorry that there was confusion. I just did, because this had been pre-approved, I just gave her what she needed.
Okay.
So is there anything else that I need to send to her, or?
No, then I will authorize this with Lori.
Okay. Thank you.
Call from the floor.
Nothing to me. This is just a food for thought. Every day we go around and look for obstacles that are going to interfere with our response with all the construction especially. Right now, I'm not asking for this, but at some point in the future, I think it would be wise to have parking only on one side of the street throughout the whole village. It's something that, obviously you have to do this, you have to do that. But getting fire trucks and ambulances through some of these streets is hair-raising, let's put it that way. We've been lucky, we've never hit anything yet. But just food for thought, nothing has to be done right away, but at some point, I would like to discuss that with you about having this street parking on one side through all the subdivisions. I know it's not gonna make us real popular maybe, but I think it's gonna make us a lot safer. It's also for the, kids darting out from between cars, you're only gonna have one side instead of two. So just something to think about, that's all.
Call from the floor. Oh, I'm sorry. Nick.
Yes.
Come on up. The council received a, what do you want to call it?
My request.
Yeah, a presentation on.
Yes. President Gilbert, Councilman, thank you very much for giving me a couple minutes to speak to you. So I've been doing development for the Alexa platform for the past 40 years. And I've developed close to about 350 to 400 actual skills. And a lot of people don't know about these or what their capabilities are. So there's everything from, games to things that can help you with productivity. My goal, or what I would like to do, using the Parks and Recs department as a catalyst, is to build one for the city of New Haven, an official city of New Haven Alexa skill. Now what this will do is it'll have a focus on town events, when things are happening, any sort of emergency or warnings that we may need to put out, and anything like that pertaining to small business. Because I don't know if any of you know this, but the North Village Market up there on the corner has some of the best pizza I've ever tasted. But a lot of people don't know that, right? You may see it on a Facebook post or something, maybe you get lucky. That's how we found it. But why not give people the ability to access that? Now, a lot of people here may say, well, I don't have an Alexa. Well, that's easy. The only thing you have to do is download the app. And what I'm going to show you is the actual demo that I created for Tara in the Parks and Recs department, because she's really adamant about getting the word out about local events and whatnot. And also, Trustee Hassick also said that he would be interested in helping me create a pamphlet that we could push out, show people how to download the app, show people how to use the app, or access it on their device. So without further ado, let me go ahead and fire this thing up. Open Hello New Haven.
Hello, New Haven. This Friday's Movies in the Park. Contact Tara for more info. You can say food, what is happening, stores or village information. Which would you like?
Food.
Try this place, North Village Market. Would you like to hear more?
Yes.
North Village Market is located at 59069 Gratiot Avenue. The phone number is 586-749-9595. And this corner store offers everything you would need in a pinch and makes great pizza. I have sent these details to the Alexa app on your phone.
Now here's the thing. What it does is it displays this inside of the app. So you'll have your official SIL, you'll have the information for the business activity, whatnot would appear here. I took another aspect of this and I wanted to capitalize on our rich history, right? So as you open up the skill, it actually gives you like a did you know fact. So whenever it says, hello New Haven, and then there is a pause and it says contact Tara for Movies in the Park. Below that, you'll see something like the town of New Haven was incorporated in 1861 or something to that effect.
In fact, I used Trustee Mason's book in order to assist me in doing some of the research. So ultimately, what I would like to do is I'd like to build this out for Tara and the Parks and Recs Department, but I'd like to have it as the official Town of New Haven skill. Right now, we are in the Wild West of voice development and the voice industry. It's going to be huge. I went into Target today and I actually felt depressed walking around Target. There was nobody there. It was like a ghost town. People are going to start using these devices for everything. I want to program this thing to where if somebody comes in and they walk in and they just bought their house in New Haven and they say, hey, open New Haven and tell me when garbage day is, that they get an answer for that. So that's essentially it in a nutshell. I know a lot of people say, well, what about price, right? Well, there is a free tier that we would fit perfectly in. We would create a developer console account for the Town of New Haven, and we would reside within that free tier through Amazon. Because every time a person uses the skill, it's called a call. You're calling to a server, you're getting some information that's being brought back to you. You would have to exceed 1 million of those, I believe, on a monthly basis in order for you to incur any charges. And we just wouldn't do that. We don't have a population for that. But what this would do is it would put New Haven on the forefront of technology, and it would show as a spotlight for other small cities to follow. And I believe this would be a great opportunity for New Haven. I hope you would allow me to explore this avenue with Tara and the Parks and Recs Department, and I thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Call from the floor.
Just real quick, I gave each one of the trustees kind of like my short list of properties that having some difficulty with for a variety of different reasons, and are pretty big eyesores, and might be coming at future dates to request us to pursue court action and/or demolition against these properties. Some of the property owners are coming short on funds. Some of the property owners are just dragging their feet. Some of them have paid over $1,000 in fines already. So, in my opinion, it's time to actually take some of these to court and/or at least, get our legal team to communicate with them. So hopefully they take it a little more seriously. So, food for thought. Not asking that action right now, but if you guys take a look at that in the next month or something, shoot me an email or something. Let me know your thoughts on it. Drive by, something of that nature. But I might be coming to talk to you about these in the near future. So, just be aware.
Call from the floor. Call from the table.
One quick thing, and I'm sorry I didn't amend the agenda, I kind of forgot about it. The railroad tracks on Main Street, you go over those railroad tracks, you can lose a filling. Who would notify Conrail about it? I mean, that thing is, it's a hazard. Who contacts Conrail to repair that, because it's not good?
They were out here just recently, because I saw a few of those maintenance things that rode on the tracks. They were doing inspections just within the last couple weeks.
Doesn't mean they're going to do anything.
Yeah, so, I mean, they couldn't have put together their work list, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I had a couple of residents complain about losing an oil pan or something.
We still have a contact number. Sandy, we still got that
Yes,
contact number?
I'll call tomorrow.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Call from the table. Motion's in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Properly moved.